I think that these authors are heroes. Oh, fuck you. Fucking blow a raspberry at me, fucking asshole. Hello, welcome to Wikifiends. I'm your host, Joe.
I'm David.
And we are the Wikifiends. So we're going to read you some Wikipedia articles. Tonight's topics will be about hoaxes. But first, I just wanted to catch up with my good friend Dave. How's it going, man?
Oh, pretty good. Just getting over a little bit of a cold.
Yeah, you sound a little stuffy, but, you know, not too bad.
I'll live.
Probably, you're on the mend, right?
No, I'm doing much better.
Yeah, well, that's what the mend is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, what happened to me today was, I was riding my moped home from work, and I didn't realize how low my gas was, so I had to push it home all the way from work.
How far was that?
It's not far, but plus I had to stop at the gas station first, you know, put more gas in. And then I was worried because I didn't have any oil with me, because you have to mix oil with the gasoline, you know?
I see.
And I was worried that it was going to, you know, fuck up the engine and whatnot, but it was not too far from the gas station to my house, so. And it seemed to be running okay. Rode around the block. All right, well, let's get started with the episode.
All
so
right.
the first article I have is Pierre Brassau. Have you heard of this individual? Pierre Brassau was a chimpanzee and the subject of a 1964 hoax perpetrated by Daka, in quotation marks, Akelsson, a journalist at the Swedish tabloid Göteborgs Tidningen. Alexson came up with the idea of exhibiting a series of paintings made by a non-human primate under the presumption that they were the work of a previously unknown human French artist named Pierre Brassau, in order to test whether critics could tell the difference between true avant-garde modern art and the work of a chimpanzee. Pierre Brassau was, in fact, a 4-year-old common chimpanzee named Peter from Sweden's Borås Djurpark Zoo. Axelsson had persuaded Peter's 17-year-old keeper to give the chimpanzee a brush and paint. After Peter had created several paintings, Axelsson chose the best 4 and arranged to have them exhibited at the Gallery Christine in Gothenburg, Sweden. Critics praised the works, with Rolf Enderberg of the Göteborgs-Posten writing, "Brassau paints with powerful strokes, but also with clear determination. His brush strokes twist with furious fastidiousness. Pierre is an artist who performs with the delicacy of a ballet dancer."
He likes bananas.
After the hoax was revealed, Rolf Enderberg insisted that Pierre's work was still the best painting in the exhibition. A private collector bought one of the works for $90 US, equivalent to $473 in 2014. So maybe, you know, a little bit more as of today, you know, maybe 480 or 475, something like that.
That's pretty good.
In 1969, Peter was transferred to the Chester Zoo in England. So that's the first one. One thing I kind of find odd is that the chimp's handler was a 17-year-old kid. Doesn't that seem weird?
What year was this?
This was in 1964.
Oh, 64? Yeah, people were kind of crazy back then. I could see it.
I guess. But you'd think usually they'd want someone who's, like, studied something, and, you know, or maybe he was, you'd assume they'd want, like, a college graduate or, like, a college student at least to, you know. But maybe it's just
So what's this? It's the 17-year-old owned a chimp, and he got to curate this show.
Well, the 17-year-old worked at the zoo, and he was like in charge of the chimp.
Okay.
But the man behind the hoax, Axelson, was a journalist.
I see.
And so he prompted the painting, and then he selected the paint. He essentially curated the chimp's collection. So that's the first one, and I have another related one. Have you heard of Disumbrationism?
I don't think so.
Disumbrationism was a hoax masquerading as an art movement that was launched in 1924 by Paul Jordan Smith, a novelist, Latin scholar, and authority on Robert Burton from Los Angeles, California. Annoyed at the cold reception of his wife Sarah Bixby Smith's realistic still lifes had received from an art exhibition jury, Jordan Smith sought revenge by styling himself as Pavel Jordanovich, a variation on his own name. Never having picked up a paintbrush in his life, he then painted Yes, We Have No Bananas, a blurry, badly painted picture of a Pacific Islander woman holding a banana over her head, having just killed a man and putting his skull on a stick. In 1925, Smith entered the banana picture under a new title of Exaltation in New York's exhibition of the Independence at the Waldorf Astoria. He made a suitably dark and brooding photograph of himself as Jordanovich and submitted the work to the same group of critics as representative of the new school Disumbrationism. He explained exaltation as a symbol of breaking the shackles of womanhood. To his amusement, if not surprise, the Disumbrationist daub won praise from the critics who had belittled his wife's realistic painting. More Disumbrationist paintings followed, a composition of zigzag lines and eyeballs he called Illumination, a garish picture of a black woman doing laundry, which he called Aspiration, in which a critic praised as a delightful jumble of Gauguin, pop art, and Negro minstrelsy, with a lot of Jordanowicz individuality. Genation, an ugly lopsided portrait, and a painting named Adoration of a woman worshipping an immense phallic idol, was also exhibited in 1927. So the same year, Jordan Smith confessed to the Los Angeles Times that the Disumbrationist paintings were meant as a spoof. Since 2006, there has been held a yearly painting contest in memory of Paul Jordan Smith and the Disumbrationist School of Arts. The International Pavel Jordanovich Painting Contest. The winners were Kurt Hinterbichler in 2006, Kunstgruppe Olga in 2007, and Olga Krolik in 2008. So I guess this is like a series of, art hoaxes, mainly aimed at, or fine art hoaxes at least, mainly aimed at sort of champions of the critics that are champions of the avant-garde that,
Yeah, it's the same criticism at the bottom of both of these.
Yeah, and it's sort of like, I guess it's sort of like a thing where someone will say like, oh, my kid could do that,
Right. Like, I kind of identify with that second one. Like, I feel like it's been like, I've tried to do the same thing a little bit.
The Disumbrationist thing?
Yeah, I was looking at some of the images, and it's like, oh, God.
They are pretty interesting, though. I mean, they're not technically good, but I don't think they're horrible. I think they're sort of interesting, but I mean, but maybe it's that I just find them interesting in the historical context,
Right.
Mm. Hopefully, we could put that up somewhere, maybe on Facebook or Twitter or something.
Yeah. I should update that.
Yeah. So, I don't know, like, I guess this is like I would say this is a common criticism of that sort of like the avant-garde movement, where it's, it's not really artists showing it, putting forth anything. It's just guys sort of goofing off and like acting like there's a deeper meaning behind it.
Well, I mean, I don't want to give away any of your later ones, but I'm sure that I know I've read about stuff like about this happens in the academic world as well. Mm-hmm. About anything that sounds like big words, be like, oh, this sounds smart, like, well, print this in our academic publication. It's kind of a similar thing. Yeah,
and that's what maybe we should just move on to that sort of topic. The next one I have, then, is Atlanta Nights. Have you ever heard of Atlanta Nights?
No.
Atlanta Nights is a collaborative novel created in 2004 by a group of science fiction and fantasy authors with the express purpose of producing an unpublishably bad piece of work so as to test whether publishing firm Publish America would still accept it. It was accepted after the hoax was revealed. The publisher withdrew its offer. The primary purpose of the exercise was to test Publish America's claims to be a traditional publisher that would only accept high-quality manuscripts. Critics have long claimed that Publish America is actually a vanity press that pays no special attention to the sales potential of the books they publish, since most of their revenue comes from the authors rather than book buyers. Publish America had previously made some highly derogatory public remarks about science fiction and fantasy writers, because many of their critics came from those communities. Those derogatory remarks influenced the decision to make such a public test of Publish America's claims. So it says a little background, and it has a sort of some excerpts that Publish America put out through one of their websites, and one of them says, "Science fiction and fantasy writers have it easier. It's unfair, but such is life. As a rule of thumb, the quality bar for sci-fi and fantasy is a lot lower than for all other fiction. Therefore, beware of published authors who are self-crowned writing experts. When they tell you what to do and not to do in getting your book published, always first ask them what genre they write. If it's sci-fi or fantasy, run. They have no clue about what it is to write real-life stories and how to find them a home, unless you're a sci-fi or fantasy author yourself." And then they added, "But alas, the sci-fi and fantasy genres have also attracted some of the lesser gods, writers who erroneously believe that sci-fi, because it is set in a distant future, does not require believable storylines, or that fantasy, because it is set in conditions that have never existed, does not need believable, everyday characters. Obviously, and fortunately, there are not too many of them, but the ones who are indeed not ashamed to be seen as literary parasites and plagiarists are usually the loudest, just like the proverbial wheel that needs the most grease." So that's what this Publish America publishing... or this is what this Publish America publisher wrote about sci-fi. So you can imagine that sort of the, sci-fi authors were pretty, keyed up about this.
Wait, the publisher said that, but it was like an editor who wrote that, right? Someone who worked there?
Someone someone working for Publish America's website wrote that.
Right.
And like I said, like I read earlier, it seems like Publish America was targeting sci-fi authors because a lot of the criticisms about Publish America came from authors in the sci-fi/fantasy community.
Is it because they wouldn't get picked up, or what was the source of their resentment?
What was the source of the sci-fi fantasy writers' resentment?
Yeah, because it sounds like what Publish America did was reactionary to the way sci-fi people were acting towards their company. But what
it doesn't go into say, but it appears that this is speculation on my part. It's possible that a lot of sci-fi fantasy writers had sort of fallen for Publish America's scheme and paid to get their books published.
Okay. So it's just the whole business model in general.
That's Publish America's business model, is they get revenue from authors more so than actual purchasers of the books.
It's like with bands, it's pay to play, right? Like pay to play venues or something.
And it's listed under Vanity Press. Mm-hmm. I can give you a little background into Vanity Press if you want. Mm-hmm. The little Vanity Press, vanity publisher, or subsidy publisher is a term describing a publishing house in which authors pay to have their books published. Additionally, vanity publishers have no selection criteria as opposed to other hybrid publishing models. The term appears in mainstream U.S. publications as early as 1941. In contrast, mainstream publishers, whether major companies or small presses, derive their profit from sales of the book to the general public. Publishers must therefore be cautious and deliberate in choosing to publish works that will sell, particularly as they must recoup their investment in the book. So vanity presses, they're not selective. They'll take any book, and they make their money by charging the authors.
Right.
So,
well, it's funny that they would. Well, it sounds like, it's an odd thing for them, that company, to say, "Oh, fantasy and sci-fi writers, you guys, people that read your stuff, or the guys that make it, nobody gives a shit about the real world anyway. You guys just don't know how to write." It's funny, like, it seemed like fantasy and sci-fi would be a major part of their clientele.
They were not saying that no one cares about the real world. They're saying that fantasy and sci-fi is easier because it doesn't have to be set in the real world. Which
right.
I think definitely some people feel that way. I don't feel that way. I don't think it's any easier. A good fiction is good fiction. Whether it's fantasy or sci-fi fantasy or, more traditional novels.
I kind of get what they're saying, but, it seems subjective. Easier for whom?
Yeah, I don't think it is subjective, though. I think they're saying that it categorically is easier to be a sci-fi writer, right, which I don't think is the case.
If you're a kind of guy that can come up with cool magic ideas, but you have no idea what a real elderly woman sounds like. It would be, yes, in that case, maybe that particular writer, it would be easier for them to just write about big ideas and scratch the dialogue. But there might be someone who can write dialogue really well and can't come up with the wacky shit. I feel like it's subjective,
Well, I don't think it's subjective. I don't think their claim is subjective. I think they're making an objective claim that sci-fi, this is what Publish America is making. They're making a claim that sci-fi is always easier because the readers of sci-fi don't demand realistic characters, which I think is a false claim.
I don't know. I could see why someone would say that. I don't think it's completely. I think it's more forgiving genre, definitely those two genres towards that kind of a thing.
Yeah, maybe it is, but I don't think that. I don't think it's true that it's easier to get a sci-fi book published because you don't need to be as good of a writer. because the audience doesn't care about it.
Yeah.
I don't think that's. I think they're making a absolute claim that I don't think is true or even really verifiable.
I'm swayable on this. I would be interested to hear more about what the rationalization for this was. I don't like the absolutism of it myself.
The rationalization for what?
Maybe there are trends that actual marketing and sales trends that could back up this viewpoint. So I would be curious to know them if they were out there.
All right. Well, let me go into what the hoax was, though.
Yeah.
To sort of
Atlanta Knights.
Yeah. This is the bulwark.
Are there any excerpts from it?
Well, I'm gonna read you as much as I can. So here's preparation. In retaliation for the statements that Publish America made on their website, a group of science fiction and fantasy authors under the direction of James D. McDonald collaborated on a deliberately low-quality work, complete with obvious grammatical errors, nonsensical passages, and a complete lack of a coherent plot. The effort was partly inspired by another collaborative hoax work, Naked Came the Stranger, as the working title of Atlanta Knights was Naked Came the Bad Fic. That's unnecessary, but... the distinctive flaws of Atlanta Knights include non-identical chapters written by two different authors from the same segment of outline, 13 and 15, a missing chapter, 21, two chapters that are word-for-word identical to each other, 4 and 17, two different chapters with the same chapter number, 12 and 12, and a chapter written by a computer program that generated random text based on patterns found in the previous chapters. Characters change gender and race. They die and reappear without explanation. Spelling and grammar are non-standard and the formatting is inconsistent. The initials of characters who are named in the book spelled out the phrase, Publish America is a vanity press. Under McDonald's direction, the finale revealed that all the previous events of the plot had been a dream, although the book continues for several more chapters. So now submission, acceptance, and then repudiation.
Wait, is it a fantasy or a sci-fi, or is it just supposed to be modern?
It doesn't say, but it's just called Atlanta Knights. So
it sounds modern, yeah.
But it almost doesn't matter because no one read it, you know?
Right.
So the completed manuscript was offered to Publish America by an unrevealed person not usually associated with fiction. The manuscript was accepted for publication on the 7th of December 2004. The hoaxers reviewed the contract with legal counsel and made the decision not to carry the hoax through to actually publishing the book. On the 23rd of January 2005, the hoax was publicly revealed by the author. On the 24th of January 2005, Publish America retracted its acceptance, stating that after further review, the novel failed to meet their standards. The authors subsequently published the book through print-on-demand publisher Lulu under the pseudonym Travis T., with all profits going to the Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers of America. Lulu.com's description of the novel states, Atlanta Knights is a book that could only have been produced by an author well-versed in believable storylines set in conditions that exist today with believable everyday characters. Accepted by a traditional publisher, it is certain to resonate with an audience. So that's like it's like a tongue-in-cheek sort of description on the
jacket.
Yeah, I guess it's in sort of promotional section of the website.
Right.
Teresa Nielsen Hayden's review said, "The world is full of bad books written by amateurs, but why settle for the merely regrettable? Atlanta Knights is a bad book written by experts." So it has a list of the authors. I mean, it seems like there's 41 chapters, and it seems like each chapter has at least one author. Mm-hmm. Although, there are some duplicate chapters. Chapter 12, there are 2 chapter 12s.
Right.
And there is at least one instance of a chapter being a word for word reprint. And there's also a computer generated chapter. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't really have an author. And then a missing chapter. It's
weird you said that it is a vanity press, but it's kind of trying to it's a pay to play, but there is a little bit of discrimination in it, like they a little bit of editorial.
What makes you say that?
Because he said that when they found out it was a hoax, they threw it out.
Yeah, but that's not any discriminating taste. They just wouldn't. I mean, I'm very surprised that you seem to be such a defender of Publish America.
Wait, do they say that, do they actually say, oh, we only let the best shit get through? Or are they open about being a pay-to-play thing?
They are not open about that.
Okay. So they're not. They act like they have a rigorous process.
They're claiming that I mean, that's why they're claiming that they only accept the best books.
Okay.
And they're saying that's why they don't handle sci-fi, is because a lot of it's garbage. But
I see.
It's possible. It's I don't know why they said that. It's possible that their name was frequently discussed among sci-fi fantasy writers as someone to avoid as a scammer, right?
Oh, okay. That doesn't make sense though, because if how can they be advised to not use it as a scammer if they don't get picked up anyway because they have a hi-hat about sci-fi? It doesn't make sense.
I don't understand what you're asking.
So you're saying that
that's my theory.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying that a possible reason that Publish America was so firmly against sci-fi was not because they thought it was of lower standard, but because they were possibly monitoring web forums for sci-fi writers, discussing how Publish America was a scam. This is all my theory, right?
So as a
preemptive sort of defense, they say, or possibly not even preemptive, as a defense, they say we don't accept sci-fi authors.
We don't want you anyway. Yeah,
because they can't write like real authors can write. That's what they're saying. We don't accept them because real authors they can't write like real authors can write.
Honestly, nothing they did does sound that bad to me. I mean, in the grand scheme,
I'm very surprised at this, because they accepted. They're saying in one hand that it's not good enough for us. Sci-fi is not good enough for us.
Right.
So then, sci-fi authors submit a garbage book that's full of nonsense, and they accept it. They accept it. A purposefully poorly written book. They accept it, which leads you to believe that they didn't read it at all and just sent an acceptance letter saying they would publish it to get money.
Do you think that they even checked to make sure there wasn't a rocket ship in it? You know what I mean? Because it seems like they could have just sent a sci-fi novel and just
they could have sent anything.
Could have sent anything.
They could have sent anything, and that's. I'm very surprised that you seem to not think they did anything wrong. I mean,
not really.
Of course, they didn't do anything legally wrong, but it seems very unethical to run a scam business.
I think that,
especially if they're positioning themselves as a real author and they hook people in to pay them money to get a book made.
I mean, what is it called again?
Publish America.
Publish America sounds kind of like they sound pretty pompous. They sound pretty dumb. But honestly, they're
not pompous. They're scammers.
Well, pompous scammers, whatever. a group of the populace, calls them out and like, oh, fuck them, it's just vanity press, it's a waste of money. They get defensive about it, and I'm saying, like, yeah, that sounds kind of, they sound shitty, but honestly, these guys at the other end sound pretty thin-skinned and just, of course they were going to get published. They knew it was a vanity press. Like, I don't really, either side on this.
They did it to demonstrate that Publish America was a vanity press.
Right.
It's not like Publish America's outright saying that they're a vanity press. They're doing it to have proof that it's a vanity press,
right,
so that people in the future won't be scammed by them.
So they will take away some of their proposed clout by saying,
as direct proof that they will accept anything for publishing, even garbage, even the worst thing that could be written. They'll accept it. That means they have no standards. That means they're only in it to take money from authors.
Right.
I don't know. I don't see how you could defend Publish America, or how you could that the hoax creators are thin-skinned. I mean, they're being attacked by scammers saying that what they do is not legitimate art, by people that scam people and take their money.
There's just something. I don't know.
No, tell me what you...
Waste of time. It just seems like thin-skinned waste of time. Yes, those people sound shitty. The publishing company does. I mean, they're like, they sound funny because they are scammers. And
I don't see how it's a waste of time where it's sort of one chapter written by 40 different people. Well, it's not like a guy sat down and wrote a whole book.
How is this publishing company really bringing those fucking people down, though? I mean, where are the examples? Were there several guys who got fucked over by them? I mean, like...
All right, well, let me put it this way, right? Publish America doesn't generate revenue by selling books. They generate revenue by getting payments from authors.
Well, how does it work though? I mean, do you just get it made through them? They handle no distribution. They literally just make it and they charge you top dollar.
Yeah, it doesn't get in specifics about how Publish America specifically does it.
Was there anybody big they ever put out? Did they ever get like a bestseller went through them?
No, because it's all people that are being swindled.
Because it's all just right. It's all just it's a vanity press that's not putting itself out as a vanity press.
No vanity presses really do that. I think, because if you're gonna print a book just to have a demonstration that you wrote a book, you don't need to go, especially now, you don't need to go through an agency. You can just have things printed up at a Staples,
or Amazon or something.
Yeah. So the fact that they only make their money through what appears to be deceiving authors, evidence through the fact that they still existed as a company. They weren't selling books. They were just taking money and ostensibly lying about it. They're clearly the villains.
Well, I'm trying to what capacity did they lie? Did they actively say we're a real publishing company, we will promote and distribute your book?
Yes.
Haha, we took your money, you get nothing?
They don't say that afterwards, but they say that they only accept the highest quality books. They only accept the highest quality submissions.
No, that's totally subjective though. I mean, like that statement, like on whose reconnaissance is it?
On their authority, they only accept the highest quality submissions, right? That's what they're saying.
But that's like that statement on whose idea of that
on what they consider to be the highest quality.
Right. So that could be anything.
so what that means is it would either mean that they don't do that and they accept anybody, or they read the entirety of Atlanta Nights and thought it was of the highest quality.
Maybe they did think it was.
Maybe they did. But then the question is, should you trust them? Would they have enough business sense if they think that's a good book to run a publishing company? So it's two ways. It's either they don't give a shit what your book is. They'll take your money either way,
right?
Because they get paid through you, the author, or they have so much faith in utter garbage that they're going to print it. And if that's the case, they're not. How are they going to make any money? Because no one's going to buy a book like that. And if that's what they consider to be good work, if that's what they consider to be good work, and they're not a vanity press, they would be selling books. They would be selling books, but they're not.
That's not their profit, right?
No.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't recommend necessarily that anybody use them on GP, general principle of it altogether, but I don't know, like, I guess the problem is they're liars, is that they lie. They're
liars and they're scamming people for money.
I would say that their main sin, I mean, all that petty shit about saying sci-fi and fantasy is easier to write, I mean, like, that's kind of annoying, but, like, I don't know. That doesn't bother me so much. It is...
No, that's the least egregious of it. That's, that could be a legitimate thing. I don't believe that. I don't believe that's the case. I don't think it's inherently easier to write than other types of fiction. But even if they were, I don't believe they were saying it because that's what they firmly believe. I think they're just trying to, do
Fight
damage.
back. Yeah.
The real sin is that they're scamming people out of money and they got caught doing it.
Yeah, I guess so. No, that's pretty bad.
Yeah, that's why I was so, taken aback by why you weren't, why you were so quick to sort of defend them.
Well, it's kind of one of those things, though, where if they only do you damage, it's kind of like a vampire unless you invite them in. It's like, if you do your due diligence,
Yeah, all right. Well, that's fine, but, that's like any sort of con man then. I mean, that's like saying, well, like, it's on you for getting fooled.
A little bit.
Yeah, but do you really think that's are you comfortable living like that by saying, yeah, a con man should be able to live like anybody else. They shouldn't get called on it.
Well, if they're straight up lying about services rendered, if they say that, you pay us a shitload of money and we'll get you distribution and all this, and they take your money and they don't give you shit, then yes, it's a total scam. But if they fucking say, if you give us money, we'll give you a copy of the book and that's all you're going to get, and, you don't do your fucking due diligence to see where it says that's your fucking problem. Like, That's
a valid point, but the fact that they're willing to write about how they only take the highest authors and other authors, particularly sci-fi authors, are not up to snuff, they're not worthy of being printed, it would lead you to believe that they're trying to put themselves forth as a legitimate publisher. So it's not just the fact that they made a comment about sci-fi as a genre being subpar.
Right.
It's the fact that in doing that, in doing that, they were also putting forth that they were like arbiters of
taste or something.
Of taste and of quality fiction.
Right.
When what the Atlanta Nights group did was demonstrate that they were not.
I think the point would have been better. I don't know, for some reason, to go through the whole effort to make this thing, because it sounds like almost like they did make some fucking what is it, like some stream of consciousness kind of high ass, like, you know what I mean, avant novel. Like if they had just resubmitted, I don't know, like fucking Tarzan and misspelled some words in it, it sounds like kind of what they made does kind of sound a little bit interesting. You know?
All right, well, that's a that's a fair point. Would you be willing to get a copy? If I bought a copy, would you be willing to read all of it and report on what you thought of it?
I mean, maybe we could torrent it.
Well, I'm saying I want to support it because I think that these authors are heroes. Oh, fuck you. Fucking blow a raspberry at me. Fucking asshole.
Heroes.
Yeah, they are heroes. Because
they're real heroes.
No, they are heroes because they took on people that were scamming people out of money, and they did it without resorting to violence. They used their heads for it. And that's what I find to be heroic.
I'm going to look into these heroes. Let me see what other heroic acts these guys have been involved in.
Fuck you. What have you done?
That's a good one, though. That's a very recent one, I guess, right? That's like only within the past... When was this?
2004, so a little bit over 10 years ago.
I'm curious about, because I'm sure the internet gave rise to a lot of these things like this. Like, I feel like Vanity Press, I feel like that's been around since... I don't know, even since I've been conscious of any kind of publication, that's like a thing you look out for. So I'm curious to know more about the context of it. But I feel like since the internet, you've seen a lot more shit like that. You know what I mean? It's easier to submit.
Yeah, and I think you are right that people should do more due diligence in determining whether something is legitimate or not.
Hey, here's my thing. Yeah, if I was a sci-fi writer and these guys fucked me over, and at the end of the day, yes, I'd be mad at them, but there's only one person I can really blame for that. You know what I'm saying? And it's fucking me. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta take some fucking ownership.
What I believe is that sci-fi writers in particular got burned.
Yeah.
It sounds early on because they said finally they submitted stuff to Publish America. This is all theory. They submitted stuff to Publish America.
Right. They all got accepted or something.
They all got accepted and they all had to pay. And then they talked about it. And they said they came to the realization that it was a scam. Right. And they talked about it. And then Publish America responded. Mm-hmm. And with their things. So and it seems like I mean, maybe some of these authors were doing it, to sort of stick up for other sci-fi, authors, but they're also sticking up for other fiction genre writers in doing so, because if they're showing that that Publish America will accept any garbage.
You see, like, that's the thing. Like, that almost makes me, like, that's the thing that makes me kind of like Publish America. Because it's kind of like, they seem pretty, like, they're a bunch of fucking, they'll just rip you off and lie to you. But they really will print anything, though, I find it very disturbing that you like these people so much. Well, I'm sick.
Company.
I'm sick right now, so maybe my opinion will change.
I don't think that's legitimate defense. I mean,
I have a weird feeling about like things like this, like, because it's definitely limiting and it's definitely a scam, but it's like I'd have to learn more about it. Like there seems to be there's weird things you can exploit about things like this that like I find interesting, but at the same time, if there's a bunch of people that really were screwed, I guess that's a totally different thing. I mean, if they were totally led to believe it was one kind of way and it was not, then, I mean, that's very different.
Well, all right. I'm glad that you agree with that. I would say that it's possible that, some of them weren't, it's possible that no one was lied to. They were all told up front what it was about.
Right.
But then there would be no need for any backlash against Publish America. And then in that sense in that sense, Publish America wouldn't need to make a rebuttal.
Right.
If there wasn't an initial thing, you know?
Well,
so there was some animosity towards Publish America that warranted Publish America to respond disparagingly to sci-fi fantasy writers.
No, I'm trying to think about it from both sides. Like, if I was screwed over as a writer, I'd be pissed at them for lying to me. If I was that company, why would you say, like, any genre is worse than another? Like, that, I mean, even if there were a bunch of guys talking shit, you know what I mean? Like, it just seems like it's bad for business for you to talk shit about any genre.
I would say the reason to do it, if I'm someone from Publish America,
right?
I would say
discredit them or something. Or?
Yeah, to say, like, look, we don't take sci-fi fantasy. They're just mad at us. It has nothing to do with our business practices.
Yeah, they're just butthurt because their shit didn't sell. Like, we didn't do anything wrong. Like, you should be a better writer. You should get good.
Yeah,
it is very bullyish. It's very fucking like. I mean, if you take it at face value that they did lie to all these people, it's very evil response. Like,
look, and I should say I have no proof that, and Wikipedia doesn't even say that in this article at least that's what they were lying to people. But I mean, if you sort of extrapolate the information, that's what the conclusion you come to, right?
Right. Right.
And it appears like Publish America is not a company anymore, but
I know that business model must still exist in a million places, though. Still,
yeah,
they are pretty good at policing things like that, though. In those forums, I feel like now it would be much harder to do a scam like that these days than probably it was in 2004 or whatever. It's probably much easier then.
Yeah. So it says here America Star Books, formerly Publish America,
right,
is a Maryland-based print-on-demand. And it says some writers and authors advocates have described the company of being a vanity press while representing itself as a traditional publisher. I would say that the Atlanta Knights group did the work to show that was the case, that they were vanity press masquerading as a legitimate publisher.
I guess that's an interesting thing too, because if you really couldn't get your shit published and you went with a vanity press, like, I imagine that would be a selling point about your vanity press. Like, you're real good at hiding it. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's kind of maybe that was part of their. I'm sure it was part of their stock and trade. Like, it kind of gave them marketable leverage by presenting themselves as not a vanity press.
All right, let me see here. Should we go to Publish America's page?
No, we're almost already an hour in. I think we spent a long time on that. We should just go to the next one, man.
All right, let me see. I have one more.
Any other ones that'll get us to fight again?
I was super mad at you.
Oh, whatever.
Don't dismiss me.
Next.
Fuck you. The Sokal affair.
All right, what's that?
Also called the Sokal hoax, was a publishing hoax perpetrated by Alan Sokal.
I think I know this one. I think I know this one.
A physics professor at New York University and University College London. In 1996, Sokal submitted an article to Social Text, an academic journal of postmodern cultural studies. The submission was an experiment to test the journal's intellectual rigor and, specifically, to investigate whether a leading North American journal of cultural studies, whose editorial collection includes such luminaries as Frederick Jamieson and Andrew Ross, would publish an article liberally salted with nonsense if A, it sounded good, and B, it flattered the editor's ideological preconceptions. The article, transgressing the boundaries towards the transformative hermeneutics of quantum gravity, was published in the Social Text Spring-Summer 1996 Science Wars issue. It proposed that quantum gravity is a social and linguistic construct. At that time, the journal did not practice academic peer review, and it did not submit the article for outside expert review by a physicist. On the day of its publication in May 1996, Sokal revealed in Lingua Franca that the article was a hoax, identifying it as a pastiche of left-wing cant, fawning references, grandiose quotations, and outright nonsense, structured around the silliest quotations by postmodern academics he could find about mathematics and physics. The hoax sparked a debate about the scholarly merit of humanistic commentary about the physical sciences, the influence of postmodern philosophy on social disciplines in general, academic ethics, including whether Sokal was wrong to deceive the editors and readers of social text, and whether social text had exercised appropriate intellectual rigor. So the background is, in an interview in the U.S. radio program All Things Considered, Sokal said he was inspired to submit the bogus article after reading Higher Superstition, in which authors Paul R. Gross and Norman Levitt claimed that some humanities journals would publish anything as long as it had the proper leftist thought, and quoted or was written by well-known leftist thinkers. Gross and Levitt had been vocal defenders of the scientific realist camp of the Science Wars, opposing postmodernist academics who questioned scientific objectivity. They asserted that anti-intellectual sentiment in liberal arts departments, and especially in English departments, caused the rise of deconstructionist thought, which eventually led to a deconstructionist critique of science. They saw the critique as a repertoire of rationalizations for avoiding the study of science, which I kind of find that funny, but...
Go on. It sounds very political. It's just kind of similar in the last one in a way, but this one's more about like if you're subscribing to the politics of the publication.
Well, I think it will. I know it'll touch on that more, but the author is firmly about science, or as he's putting it, science.
Okay.
Like scientific objectivity.
No, but it's clear that they're here zeroing in on a leftist bias in the type of material.
Well, I'll get into that, but I'll get into that later. The author is in the camp of scientific objectivity, and he's sort of positing that that sort of humanities sort of figures in humanities departments were using the language of sort of left-wing intellectualism to sort of quash scientific sort of practice.
All right, go on.
I'll get in. The article. Sokal realized that if the presumption of editorial laziness was correct, the nonsensical content of his article would be irrelevant to whether the editors would publish it. What would matter would be ideological obsequiousness, fawning references to deconstructionist writers, and sufficient quantities of the appropriate jargon. Writing after the article was published and the hoax revealed, he stated, "The results of my little experiment demonstrate, at the very least, that some fashionable sectors of the American academic left have been getting intellectually lazy. The editors of Social Text liked my article because they liked its conclusion that the content of methodology of postmodern science provide powerful intellectual support for the progressive political project. They apparently felt no need to analyze the quality of the evidence, the cogency of the arguments, or even the relevance of the arguments to the purported conclusion." And it says, content of the article, transgressing the boundaries towards the transformative hermeneutics of quantum gravity, proposed that quantum gravity has progressive political implications, and that the morphogenetic field could be a cutting-edge theory of quantum gravity. And then it says in parentheses, a morphogenetic field is a concept adapted by Rupert Sheldrake in a way that Sokal characterized in The Affair's Aftermath as a bizarre New Age idea. Sokal wrote that the concept of an external world whose properties are independent of any individual human being was dogma imposed by the long post-Enlightenment hegemony over the Western intellectual outlook. After referring skeptically to the so-called scientific method, the article declared that it is becoming increasingly apparent that the physical reality is fundamentally a social and linguistic construct. It went on to state that because scientific research is inherently theory-laden and self-referential, it cannot assert a privileged epistemological status with respect to counter-hegemonic narratives emanating from dissident or marginalized communities, and that therefore a liberatory science and an emancipatory mathematics spurring the elite caste canon of high science needed to be established for a postmodern science that provides powerful intellectual support for the progressive political project. Moreover, the article's footnotes conflate academic terms with socio-political rhetoric. Just as liberal feminists are frequently content with a minimal agenda of legal and social equality for women and pro-choice, so liberal and even some socialists, mathematicians are often content to work within the hegemonic Zmerello-Frenkel framework, which, reflecting its 19th century liberal origins, already incorporates the axiom of equality, implemented only by the axiom of choice. So, I mean, it's very dense, but
I think I definitely had heard of this one before. So it's basically, isn't it just all this shit like he's trying to disprove like gravity or something? It's something like ridiculous, right?
Yeah. He's trying to say that. Here, publication. It says, all right, in this social text issue about science, his article was the only article submitted by a natural scientist. Later, after Sokal's self-exposure of his pseudo-scientific hoax article in the Journal of Lingua Franca, the social text editors said in a published essay that they had requested editorial changes that Sokal refused to make and had concerns about the quality of the writing. Stated, "We requested him A, to exercise a good deal of this excise a good deal of the philosophical speculation, and B, to excise most of his footnotes. Nonetheless, despite subsequently designating the physicist as having been a difficult, uncooperative author, and noting that such writers were well known to journal editors, Social Text published the article in acknowledgement of the author's credentials in May 1996 Spring-Summer Science Wars issue."
So that was about the hoax one that they'd request all this shit.
That's what they're saying. Yes, the editors did not seek peer review of the article by physicists or otherwise. They later defended this decision on the basis that Social Text was a journal for open intellectual inquiry, and the article was not offered as a contribution to the physics discipline.
So,
which I kind of think is valid. I mean, I think that's a valid defense.
Though the guy's, he's got the qualifications. They had a bunch of issues with it because it sounds like the issues were with it was the stuff he was trying to push through to prove that they're dumbasses.
Yeah.
So that kind of takes a little bit away from his. It's not as
and I was more on his side up until that point.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's of course it's possible that they're lying, but I mean,
right,
I guess you have to take their word on it because they're not. Well,
if they are, that's a good clapback because it's kind of unverifiable and it sounds right. It makes him sound like a big asshole. So it's
All right, and I didn't know it was that part of the thing. I thought I was going to talk more about sort of his motivation, but so it says later on it says that. Sokal revealed that transgressing the boundaries was a hoax and concluded that Social Text felt comfortable publishing an article on quantum physics without bothering to consult anyone knowledgeable in the subject because of its ideological proclivities and editorial bias.
Right.
In their defense, the Social Text editors said that they believed that transgressing the boundaries was the earnest attempt of a professional scientist to seek some kind of affirmation from postmodern philosophy for developments in his field. and that its status as parody does not alter substantially our interest in the piece itself as a symptomatic document. Besides criticizing his writing style, the social text editors accused Sokal of behaving unethically and deceiving them. In response, Sokal said that their response illustrated the problem he highlighted. Social Text, an academic journal, published the article not because it was faithful, true, and accurate to its subjects, but because an academic authority had written it, and because of the appearance of the obscure writing. The editors said they published it because they felt Sokal was an academic seeking their intellectual affirmation. Sokal stated in his response, "My goal isn't to defend science from the barbarian hordes of Litcrit. We'll survive just fine, thank you. But to defend the left from a trendy segment of itself. There are hundreds of important political and economic issues surrounding science and technology. Sociology of science, at its best, has done much to clarify these issues. But sloppy sociology, like sloppy science, is useless and even counterproductive." So it seems like, initially I figured, well, maybe he objected to sort of their sort of left wing. He was rejecting social text for having a left wing bias. But it seems like and at least his statement is, he feels that he was trying to save the left from itself.
Right, that he wasn't punching right to left. It was more about trying to steady the course a little bit on it.
To strengthen the left.
Yeah. Self-policing and whatnot.
Yeah, getting rid of the bad,
Even if he was punching right to left, in this particular case, I do kind of am more I don't know. I don't feel as like the last one. I felt to a certain degree the hoaxers were kind of wasting their time and thin skin, but in this one, I can see where this guy's coming from more, even if his own affiliations, regardless, but because it has to do with what's taken seriously in science, which seems extremely important and worth, what I'm saying, like heavy policing to keep it pure and on track.
I would say that, I think the biggest villain is the Publish America, at least according to that article. Mm-hmm. It seems like in this one, Sokal could be, he has a legitimate point,
Yeah.
But it also seems like, Social Text, the journal, has a fairly valid counterpoint. Was that, they asked them to change it and they presented it. They weren't publishing it as something they believed in. They were publishing it as something to be discussed, which,
right.
I think that's valid. I think it's hard to fault them at that.
Yeah.
But here's another little interesting thing. Social Text's response revealed that none of its editors had suspected Sokal's piece was a parody. Instead, they speculated Sokal's admission represented a change of heart or a folding of his intellectual resolve. Sokal found further humor in the premise that his absurdity was difficult to spot. It says here, in the second paragraph, I declare without the slightest evidence or argument that physical reality, note the scare quotes, that's him saying it, is at bottom a social and linguistic construct. And then it says, not our theories of physical reality, mind you, but the reality itself. Fair enough. Anyone who believes that the laws of physics are mere social conventions is invited to try transgressing those conventions from the windows of my apartment. I live on the 21st floor.
Right.
So he's saying in his article, he said that not even theories, but physical reality itself is a construct.
Right. No, it's just completely ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean,
it's supposed to make you roll your eyes and be like, how could anybody put this in something serious?
Yeah. But, you know, he has a valid point. I don't like the idea of saving the left from itself because I don't give a shit about that.
Uh-huh.
But,
well, I was getting ready to make the whole argument that this is left to right. I mean, fuck, if you went to any kind of right publication and you, blah, 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 Oswald Spengler, blah, 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 you know, you could probably do the same shit. But it's not even about the left or right on this. It's about trying to combine politics with science or something, and the kind of impurities and bullshit that leads to, you know. So
yeah, I mean, I think he has a legitimate, you know, legitimate claim, but
it's like what is it? It's like church and state, but in this, what is it? Just like
I guess it's
science and
state almost.
Or yeah, I guess so. Yeah, science and state. Yeah, the separation,
which I'm perfectly okay with.
What those?
I think
separating those, or them working in tandem.
No, I don't. Well, you know my political beliefs, so
I'm separated. Yeah.
Yeah, it's state separated from everything is how I would.
Right.
But yeah.
No, I do. It is a thing. I kind of can't even debate this guy, no matter where it does. Like, even if he was diametrically opposed to me on a lot of things, I would not necessarily fight or disagree with what he's saying or what his complaint is. So
yeah. It seems like, you know, he was successful. I do think that the journal's response has merit, but you know, they're just submitting it, which I think is valid. But, you know, to his point, if it makes it probably makes him look less credible. So I don't see anything wrong with that. You know?
No, I don't know. Again, it's. I get it. I kind of support it, but at the same time, in the delivery, it could have gone better to prove his point. You know what I mean? Like, I would be more curious to know, what did he think was so bad to warrant this? Like, they clearly must have published shit that really pissed him off previously.
Yeah, it seems like you're really into the backstories.
Well, because because it seems like there's a lot missing here. It seems like he read something in that publication that's like, this is bullshit. You know, I can get anything published in here. I'm going to do it. It must have really pissed him off, so I'd be curious to know what it was. Like,
yeah. Well,
context is everything with these things.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's you know, I don't think you need to know the context of this though to agree with him or not. You know.
No, that's true.
Because it's. He's putting, without knowing what set him off or what triggered him or whatever.
Yeah.
He has a theory that this article is not, or that this publication is not legitimate or whatever.
Right.
He's almost like approaching it like a scientist. He has a hypothesis, and then he sets forth to prove his hypothesis, and then he proves it. You know,
right.
More or less.
Is this like, I wonder, like, kind of almost in both these cases, but especially this one, is there like, what was the thing he was supposed to do? You know what I mean? Is there like a higher thing he can appeal to? I guess he could just start writing, I think they're bullshit. He could just be upfront about it.
Yeah, there's no like board that says like, well, this guy can't write about science anymore.
Well, in the last story, there's the the Better Business Bureau. I mean, that's who they could have reported.
Yeah, but they're not.
To.
They're not. I mean, I don't believe Better Business Bureau is a government organization.
No, but I'm saying in the previous story, you could have used the BBB, but in this story, there's not.
I guess in this story, you could go to a higher publication.
Yeah,
they're the social text. You go to New York Times or whatever.
Right, like, okay, they're publishing garbage, unsourced garbage. You know, no one should take them seriously. They should be, you know, they don't deserve the clout that they have.
I mean, it's basically all about it's excuse me. It's basically all about your God. What the hell's that word? It's an easy word. Reputation. It's all about your reputation, right?
Right.
So within Publish America thing, it's about your reputation. In this case, it's about, in social text, it's about your reputation. About those art critics from Pierre Brassau and Disumbrationism, it's about the critics' reputation, right?
I think it is kind of weird. Like in other fields, like I feel like that shit doesn't matter as much. But I think in like academia, especially, like your reputation is your fucking living. You know, I mean, it's kind of crazy. Like it's just a whole different kind of industry. Like, you know, if you're like a great, clockmaker or something, nobody gives a shit if you got fucked up politics or whatever. You know, your reputation doesn't really matter. You know, it just, can you still keep making a great clock?
Well, your business reputation matters, but
right.
Whether you think, avant-garde art is shitty,
right?
You know, nobody cares about that as long as you do the thing that's your job.
But if you're like an avant-garde theorist or something, like if it's your fucking whole thing, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, it's very odd to me that is like an industry though. People trade and build finance based off of rep. That's so strange. It's interesting.
I mean, you know, it's like I'd say any sort of, I don't know if it's like, I guess to some extent I don't think Publish America is, but a lot of these other ones are sort of taste makers, right?
What do you mean? Like this one?
This one, the two art ones, they're more like taste makers. They're saying, you know, like what is or what is not good,
right?
Sort of either art or, you know, writing.
Right. It's subjective. It's subjective shit. It's not empirical.
Yeah, I'd say it's not it's not
not quantifiable.
Yeah, well, I guess not quantifiable is the best word that I can think of right now. But
interesting.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's kind of like like if you think of like critics, you know, like let's say Roger Ebert, right? I mean, he's probably the most well-known critic, I would say. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
And so his whole, you know, when he was living, his whole livelihood depended on, you know, people valuing his opinion.
This purity of standpoint, yeah.
Yeah. And, on one hand, they're in one part, they're in it to make money. You know, it's their living, it's their livelihood, right? Just as like a clockmaker wants to have a good reputation so he can earn money, right?
Right. It works well, looks good, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. So when he writes about, when Roger Ebert wrote about films, you know, he was A, trying to earn a livelihood, but B, also trying to further something that he really did believe in. Or to put forth theories or put forth understanding of film, you know?
Right.
So it's sort of like it's you know, it's two things in once. When you're a critic, is A, you do want to earn a livelihood, but B, you also, a lot of times I would imagine it's things that you deeply hold as sacred, I guess.
I mean, imagine it's a juggling game. It's like, you know what kind of shit that sells, probably if you've done it for a while. You know what kind of shit people respond to. You know what you really think, and you just try to juggle it all. You know, you try to get the thing that sells. If they want to hear you pan it, you got to do a little panning, and then you got to get your own ass in there if you can too, you know? So, I mean, it seems like a tough job. Like, you know, you got to, especially if you are, like, have some legitimate, like, thing you're trying to get across, because that may not always be marketable. You know, these things might crash into each other, it would seem like.
Yeah.
Like, if you keep promoting, like, God, I love Rob Schneider. You got to see the new Rob Schneider movie, and you hate everything else. You know, I mean, that's the opposite of, I think, Roger, right? Like, he hated him, but still, you know what I mean? If you had some kind of idealistical thing about,
well, I know he hated Adam Sandler.
Yeah. But,
or at least he, I think he hated him until like, Punch Drunk Love,
right?
Something like that.
Until then, that was great.
I like that movie.
Did you see the one? What is it? Fucking Rain Over Me,
where he's with the 9/11 one, where he's like
he's the doctor. Yeah.
I thought he was like a businessman that was like in the thing.
I think he was like a dentist who lost his family.
Oh, okay.
And
do you like how I said in the thing? In the thing. The thing I was referring to was the Twin Towers.
Well, I don't think that's the thing. I don't think he was even. I can't remember the whole story, but
I didn't see it.
Yeah. It was all right. You know that fucking game, Shadow of the Colossus is in it. He's like super depressed, and he's always playing that fucking game. Like, it's kind of interesting.
That game's so good.
It is good. I went and played it after seeing that movie.
Did you have it on the computer?
No, my friend. I was living with Mike at the time, and he had a PlayStation.
Yeah.
So I just bought like a shitty copy and just played it one night.
Well, yeah, it's a great game.
You can beat it in a day, pretty much. It's short.
Yeah.
All right, so that was good. So do you want to move on to games, or do you have any more?
Yeah, let's go for games. You want to do yours first?
Yeah, sure. It's just a real stupid one. It's stock characters. Can you identify these stock characters?
Go for it.
All right. What is the final girl?
Final girl, is that a horror movie thing? Where the
yes.
the last girl living?
It is, yes. It refers to the last woman alive to confront the killer, ostensibly the one left to tell the story. The final girl has been observed in many films, including Alien and Halloween. The term was coined by Carol J. Clover in her 1992 book, Men, Women, and Chainsaws, Gender in Modern Horror Film. Clover suggested that in these films, the villain began sharing the perspective of the killer, but experienced a shift in identification to the final girl partway through the film. So there's a lot of examples of it. Okay. Oh, this is kind of interesting, though. She typically is sexually unavailable or virginal and avoids the vices of the victims like illegal drug use, and she oftentimes has a unisex name, such as Avery, Chris, or Sydney. So that's kind of that's a little masking going on there, it sounds like. All right. Do you know what a spear carrier is?
Is that just like a... oh God, is that a racist term?
No, it's not.
Okay, is it just like a guard, like a palace guard that like is by the queen sort of thing?
Can you give me any more? I mean, can you give me any more context about like what it implies about this part?
I don't know.
It's a nickname for a minor acting part.
Okay.
It generally pertains to a character that appears in several scenes, but mostly in the background. And it's pretty much from the world of opera, where it's used literally. When a male chorus is required, such as in Ada, for example, the onstage army, armed with spears and swords, usually consists of several singers and as many who remain silent, filling out the group. The silent ones were known as spear carriers, to differentiate them from the male chorus members.
Yeah.
So
you know, I think I read something that used that term in that sense. So I think I was reading a old film, Salome.
Oh, I see.
And it had, I was reading it. It was under apparently the film Salome from the 20s. There was a gay rumor that the entire cast was gay. and it said that the like Salome spear carriers were had a line like definitely appeared to be homosexual.
To check that out.
Yeah.
Do due diligence on that. All right, you know what a loathly lady is?
Lowly or loathly?
Loathly.
Is it like the bad one in like the bad lady that goes against the heroine in like vying for a man?
It's more generic than that, I think. The loathly lady is an archetype commonly used in medieval literature. Most famously, Chaucer is the wife of Bath. The motif is that of a woman who appears unattractive but undergoes a transformation upon being approached by a man in spite of her unattractiveness, becoming extremely desirable. It is then revealed that her ugliness was a result of a curse which has been broken by the hero's action.
Oh, that's a lot different from what I said then.
Yeah. It's more of a... it's part of the Sith Thompson folklore classification system, so it's like, this that goes through all the different variations of, like, Loathly Lady is motif D732, and so it's all these examples of someone who's ugly and then, a young person or a young sexy person approaches them and they become attractive again. It's like this curse of appearing ugly or appearing unapproachable. There's a couple, there's a Norse version, there's an Irish version, there's a British version. It seems like, it's Western European motif. Next one, Whiskey Priest. What is that?
Whiskey Priest?
Yes.
Is that just like a drunk priest?
Yeah, it's a priest or ordained minister who shows clear signs of moral weakness while at the same time teaching a higher moral standard. They may include alcoholism, but it can involve other vices.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a pretty classic, just hypocritical type role.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's a weird one. I don't think the name really helps out that much, but I think you'll recognize it once you hear it. The Sinnekins. Sinnekins. Sinkins. It's derived from the Dutch word senses or meanings. These are stock characters found in medieval drama, especially morality plays.
I don't know. Cynic?
No, not cynic. It's like sin and Sinnekins.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm.
They're most often occur as a pair of devilish characters who exert their pernicious influence on the main characters of the drama. So they're kind of, it means senses or meanings. They're kind of allegorical persons that kind of influence the main character negatively.
Does it have an example?
Like the fool with his bauble, the Sinneken function as the devil had in earlier medieval drama. So they kind of just fulfill the role as the devil in a lot of, like, they just, you know what I'm saying?
Does it have an example though from a piece of fiction?
I mean, they give examples, not in it, but they have a list of related see also, and like,
right.
Yeah, the latest one's from 1567 called Horistes. So I don't think there's they were in this one called Everyman, and this is from 1450. I wonder what that is. The Summoning of Everyman, a 15th century morality play. I mean, it just sounds like it's the devil, it's just this character that's probably like acts goofy and, oh, wouldn't you like to do something bad? Like,
Yeah. Is that sort of like the bad kid in Pinocchio, the one that entices Pinocchio to go to that island?
I guess he could be considered. I mean, he's probably, he's kind of more like a kidnapper. He's not like a...
What? No, it was another kid, right? And then there was the kidnapper guy that was like...
Oh, I see.
But there was another, I think it was like a redheaded kid. He's like, come on, let's go smoke some cigars. you know?
I get that's kind of in the vein of it.
Or like, let's, you know, like, you don't need your old stupid dad. Let's run off, you know?
It seems like the implication is it's kind of like a character that's debatably even, like, physically there. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of representative of just the desire to be bad and act bad. You know what I'm saying? So I guess it's kind of, if it's like Pinocchio is really just smoking cigars, like, fuck that. Like, you know, like, if that character could be easily removed, you know what I mean, I guess. I that's kind of an interesting thing, though. I kind of want to look more into this.
Well, I guess like, you know, like, Pinocchio has that whole, like, Jiminy Cricket, like, the conscience, not conscious. How, like, I guess, like, Jiminy Cricket is the conscience. Or it's like the thing where it's like there's the devil on the shoulder and then the angel, you know?
Yeah. Yes.
It's sort of like that, but it's just the devil, right?
That's another, actually, that's called shoulder angel. Yes, that's a type.
You might have to say that. That might be a good article for another time.
Yeah, definitely. But Jiminy Cricket is definitely a shoulder angel.
Yeah.
In the most literal sense.
Yes, because he can go on your shoulder.
Right, exactly. Okay. Do you know what a Hawksian woman is?
It's like Howard Hawks, right? It's sort of like it was from Howard Hawks films, right?
Correct. It is
sort of like a sort of not dangerous, but like maybe like a, I don't want to say voluptuous either, but sort of like a you know, not like an all American good girl, sort of like a darker side to her.
That's not bad. That's pretty much it. Like, it's a character.
And she's also buxom.
Hold on. Is a character archetype, the Hawksian woman, of a tough-talking woman, popularized in the films by director Howard Hawks through his use of actresses such as Katharine Hepburn, Anne Dorvach, Rosalind Russell, and Angie Dickinson. The best-known Hawksian woman is probably Lauren Bacall, who iconically played the type opposite Humphrey Bogart in To Have and Have Not in The Big Sleep. These women were essential to Hawks' modern directing style, going against the social norm of gender roles. The Hawksian woman is an upfront in speaking her mind and keeping up with her male counterparts in witty banter, as well as taking action to get what she wants personally as well as sexually. She can be seen as the fast-talking Frank, can beat a man in verbal conflict. Despite his preference for this kind of woman, Hawks never considered himself a feminist and simply stated he thought these women were lively and interesting both in films and in life. Hawks' marriage to actress Slim Keith shows this interest in life in directing her book, Slim blah, 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 blah. So, yeah, you pretty much, I guess it's flaunting kind of gender roles. Is kind of be well tailored and cut suits, sporty styles that were attractive yet down to earth. Hawksian women physically are not at all classical beauties, but rather are carried more by their spunk and charisma than physical features.
Well, if you're saying Lauren Bacall's like not a classic beauty, that's not. I mean, that's not the case.
Well, I guess it's how they sell. Yeah.
I understand. I guess Katharine Hepburn, I mean, I would say she's more of just like a stately woman, but not like super hot.
Maybe in the way his characters, I don't know.
No, I'm saying Lauren Bacall is a classic beauty.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I see.
Yeah. All right, are there any more?
You know what archimime is?
Is that just like spelt like arc mime?
Yeah, ARCHI mime.
Archimime. I'm not sure.
You want to take a guess based on the suffix?
Is it just some sort of mime?
It's the chief buffoon or jester in ancient Roman times.
All right.
Among the ancient Romans, archimimes were persons who initiated the manners, gestures, and speech of both the living and the deceased. At first, they were only employed in the theater, but afterwards admitted to feasts and to funerals. At funerals, archimimes walked behind the corpse. What is it? God, I'm fucking up my words right now. What is that? How do you pronounce when you intimating? I can't do it right now.
Imitation?
Yeah. Okay. At funerals,
impression.
At funerals, archimimes walk behind the corpse, imitating the gestures and the behavior being carried to the funeral pyre as if they were still alive. So that's very odd.
I guess it's kind of funny, and like that could sort of like, I mean, there's a thing, I guess, sort of like gallows humor, but also sort of like showing that like sort of life goes on, and there's still there's joy in everything, in existing.
Well, I mean, it seems disrespectful to like the sobriety of it, but it does seem like it is celebrating that person's full personage. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. By like having. I mean, like, it does seem like. Can you imagine that shit? Like someone just like at your funeral, like some guy wearing glasses and like a beard, like like doing all this shit. Like, it seems like really offensive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, please.
I don't know. Maybe we should hire some for when we're much older.
Yeah. I would be. See, that would be like a perfect way to like fuck with your family after you die. Like he demanded that an archimime pretend to be him.
You just hire him beforehand without telling them, so that they don't set it up.
Make sure the archimime you get is a real sociopath. Like, if my family's crying and saying please leave, he still stays. Because I paid him.
I guess you'd have to like include, like, you have to have one of those video wills, like
right.
Where you'd be like, oh, did you like the impressionist I got?
The chief buffoon of my funeral.
Yeah.
That's so ridiculous. I guess this is another obsolete occupation. They keep popping up again.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
All right, well.
That's all I got.
All right. So mine is, I guess, sort of related. I have parody films.
All right, let's go.
So I'm going to read sort of a film. I'm going to ask you to guess, what the parody, what it's a parody of, or sort of if you could guess who is in the role. So let's start with, I guess, a well-known one. 1974, Young Frankenstein.
And who am I guessing is playing the lead role?
Well, yeah. Well, what's it a parody of?
Oh, right. It's a parody of Frankenstein with Gene Wilder.
Yeah, Gene Wilder as
Frankenstein.
And then who played Frankenstein's monster?
I can't remember that. I do not remember.
I'll give you a hint. He was on Everybody Loves Raymond.
It's like the dad or something? I can't remember what the fuck his name is.
Peter Boyle.
Oh, Peter Boyle.
Yeah.
All right.
And a lot of these are going to be like Mel Brooks movies also.
It's easy.
All right. All right, I'll go right to another Mel Brooks. It's 1995's Dracula, Dead and Loving It. So what's it a parody of?
Dracula, the vampire story.
Well, yeah, it's a parody, I guess, of
Bram Stoker.
Yeah, the Gary Oldman one.
Okay.
I gave it away. Or no. Who's playing the Gary Oldman role, the Dracula role?
It's like another fucking dad, like comedian type character. I can't remember who the fuck it is. Like,
You can't remember?
Is it like, it's not like Danny DeVito or something. It's like
No.
It's like a real stupid, like, bald guy, though, I'm sure. Like,
No, it's not.
who is it?
It's a well-established, sort of affable, likable, older man.
I have no fucking idea.
It was Leslie Nielsen.
Oh, Leslie Nielsen. That's right. Okay.
Yeah.
He was in Grumpy Old Men 1 and 2.
No, he wasn't.
Oh, wait. Jack Diamond?
No, there's no... Jack Lemmon.
Lemon, yeah.
Jesus Christ, man.
Oh, whatever.
Do you know who played the Keanu Reeves role?
In what?
In Dracula Dead and Loving It?
No. Wait. Who was Keanu playing, or what was the role?
No, Keanu was in the Bram Stoker, the Francis Ford Coppola version.
Was he like what the pro tag?
Yeah, he played. He played Stephen Harker.
I don't know.
You don't know who played the in Dracula Dead and Loving It?
I did not see this one. I have no recollection.
I'm going to be reading a lot of films that I watched a lot when I was younger, just because, as a kid we had a hot box.
Right.
So I used to watch these movies all the time.
I mean, I've definitely seen, like, Young Frankenstein. I've seen a good amount of them, but I do not think I've seen Dracula Dead and Loving It.
It was Steven Weber.
I don't even know who the fuck that is.
He was in Wings. He's been in a fair amount of things.
Next.
All right. We'll stick with it. Robin Hood Men in Tights.
See, I definitely saw this movie. I love this movie, and I couldn't tell you one fucking... I know who's the king. The king was fucking... that one comedian. What the fuck's his name? He was always in the leather jacket. Oh, what the fuck's his name? He's the only one. I just remember his line. I still think about this line all the time. Like, I had a good morning, I had a good BM. Like, do you remember that shit?
Yeah.
Richard
Lewis.
Lewis.
But he's not, that doesn't count because he's not playing a version from Dracula Prince of, from
Dracula Prince of Thieves.
from Robin Hood Prince of Thieves. Cause there is no, Prince John in Robin Hood Prince of Thieves.
So I have no idea who the fuck any of the actors are in this movie other than Richard Lewis. Like,
well, who played Robin Hood in Prince of Thieves, right?
Oh yeah, Kevin Costner.
Do you know who played him in Men in Tights?
No.
It was Cary Elwes or Cary Hughes.
Yeah, I don't know. I remember that guy. I remember that movie very distinctly, but I have no idea who any of those guys were.
All right. Well, here's a big one. You know who played? I forget his name in Prince of Thieves, but in Men in Tights, the character was like a Chew, I believe.
Oh yeah.
In Prince of Thieves, he was played by Morgan Freeman. Do you know who played him in Men in Tights?
No, I don't. I totally forgot about this character too.
It was his first big role.
Is it some guy that's like? Is it was Kevin Hart or fucking Chris Tucker or some shit? Like,
no, but that's close. It was you're on the right track. It's Dave Chappelle.
Oh wow, Dave Chappelle. Jesus.
Yeah,
That's
it's like
crazy.
his first big thing. His first real role.
I'll have to rewatch that. I didn't even realize that's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Isn't like, I don't know, did they do that? They like that line like, lend me your ears, and all these fucking guys pop off there. Like so many like prop jokes like in that movie.
Yeah, it's a really good movie.
It is good. Like it's so stupid. Like,
all right. Here's this one it's not a direct parody, but it's High School High, a 1996 comedy film about an inner city high school in Los Angeles, California.
Is Method Man and Red Man in that? Is that like...
No, that's How High.
Oh, okay.
And this is a spoof of movies concerning idealistic teachers being confronted with a class of cynical teenagers.
What, like, what is it, like, fucking, what is that thing, Dangerous Mind?
It says it loosely parodies The Principal, Dangerous Minds, Lean on Me, The Substitute, and Stand and Deliver.
Okay.
Who plays the teacher?
I have no idea. I do not know.
I'll give you probably the only hint I can really give you. He was a fairly long-term cast member on Saturday Night Live.
Will Ferrell.
No, this is in 96.
I do not know.
So Will Ferrell would have just been he still would have been in his first season in 96.
I do not know.
It's John Lovitz.
Oh, John Lovitz.
Yeah.
Interesting.
All right. Let's see what else we have here. We have... All right. Spaceballs.
Yeah, parodying Star Wars.
All right.
That has Rick Moranis as Darth Vader. I can't remember who the main guy was, though. It wasn't Chevy Chase or some shit, was it?
No.
More off-brand guy.
Well, he's fairly well known.
Who is it? Who's Han Solo in that?
Bill Pullman.
Bill Pullman.
Yeah.
Was John Candy was fucking Chewbacca, the dog man.
Yeah, Barf.
Who was that Joan Rivers was the robot or something?
Yeah.
Oh man. I want to say Kathy Griffith at first, but I was like, no, it's probably Joan Rivers. I remember that character like very distinctly, actually. Like,
yeah. All right, well, you did pretty good on that one.
That's an easy one.
Let's see what else we have here. Yeah, a lot in the 80s. The 90s were pretty big for it, too. That's where I know most that are like direct parodies. A lot of them are just sort of spoofs. 1994's The Silence of the Hams.
Is that just like about like a fat guy that like is the eater or something? I feel like
what's it a parody of?
I mean, Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah. I'll say it's a parody of many popular thriller and horror films, notably The Silence of the Lambs and Psycho. And it now who plays the role of Dr. Animal Cannibal Pizza?
This is the thing. This is one of these movies I probably remember used to see at Blockbuster. And then my parents would never let me get this one. Like, this shit looks so stupid. It was probably like a hard R too, you know what I mean?
That's like the same thing that happened with me.
Because like they were into like comedy too. Like I could see Men in Tights or whatever, but then you pull out this Silence of the Hams, you're like, nah, this looks terrible. Like,
yeah, you just want me to tell you?
Yeah, I don't know. I definitely know this movie, but I don't know shit about it though.
It was Dom DeLuise.
Okay.
And you know who plays the Jodie Foster role?
Who?
Billy Zane.
Oh, interesting.
And I actually looked at pictures of this. His character's name, Billy Zane's character's name in Silence of the Hams is Joe D. Foster. Which is pretty funny.
I definitely remember reading the box in that Animal Cannibal Pizza, whatever, like shit. So that the doctor's name.
It's very odd.
All right, you got any more?
I got a bunch more. Wrongfully Accused. It's from 1998, and it's a parody of... Oh, what's it a parody of? It's a parody of a 1993 film.
What is it?
Wrongfully Accused.
I don't know. Don't know.
I definitely saw this one.
I do not know what this is a parody of.
It's a parody of The Fugitive.
Oh, okay.
Wrongfully Accused. and can you guess who played the parody version of the Harrison Ford role?
No.
I'll give you a hint. It's an older man that's, likable.
Is it Leslie Nielsen again?
It is Leslie Nielsen.
I do remember he made a shitload of these movies.
Yeah.
Actually, this is kind of actually starting to ring a bell.
Yeah. Let's see what else we have here. I guess this isn't really a direct parody, but it's the film version of Dragnet. It's from 1987. So, do you know who the two stars of Dragnet from 1987 were?
No.
I take it you've never seen it then.
No.
The two stars were Dan Aykroyd and Tom Hanks.
I see.
It's a pretty good movie. It's sort of like Dan Aykroyd plays the original guy, or like his like grandson or something, and then Tom Hanks plays like a new guy who's like, you know, like 80s. He's like more modern, you know. So it's sort of like the old sort of meets the new. I recall liking it, you know, a fair amount. All right. How about Hot Shots? What is Hot Shots a parody of?
Top Gun.
Who is in the Tom Cruise role?
Was it one of the fucking what the hell? I can't remember what the fuck that guy's name is. He's talking about that guy all the time.
Describe him.
Sheen.
Which Sheen?
I don't remember. I think it's the younger one.
It's Charlie Sheen.
It's Charlie Sheen. Okay.
Yeah. See if we got any more good ones. Might have to dip back again. It's got the airplane movies. Yeah, a lot of the Mel Brooks movies. It's got Last Action Heroes on the list. I guess we could go into the sort of the newer ones, right?
Yeah, let's do one newer one. And
all right. Let's see here. You would either definitely this wouldn't be a like, this wouldn't surprise you. You'd either know it or you wouldn't remember. Shaun of the Dead.
Oh yeah. So Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah, I mean, title wise, definitely it's not like a direct thing, but it's, you know.
What the hell is it, like the guy from the fucking Office or the British Office or whatever?
Are you talking about
not the main guy, but it's like it's I know it's the guy Sean, whatever.
Well, his name starts with an S.
Yeah. But it's like that modern British sitcom comedy actors thing. Like,
I know he was in one show at least. I don't think he was in The Office.
I get that shit confused.
Well, you know, I don't watch British shows, so.
I don't watch like modern ones. I should. I don't really know that much about them.
It's Simon Pegg.
Oh, that's right. I've definitely heard of that guy.
Yeah. He's in a fair amount of stuff. Let's see if there are any other good ones. I mean, they have like Austin Powers listed, but
duh.
Yeah. Oh, here's a good one. 1998, Plump Fiction.
I know this one. It's like another one of those ones I feel like I'd seen. I do not know who's in it, though.
Well, you know what it's a parody of.
Yeah, it's Pulp Fiction.
Well, I could say in the Uma Thurman role was Julie Brown, who I like Julie Brown quite a bit.
Who put that one out? Was that any big comedy house that put... Like, that's the thing. All these movies are weird because I just don't know where the fuck they're coming from. If it's, like, ex-SNL or... You know what I mean? Like, it's...
Yeah, it says the production company's Rhino Entertainment. I don't really recognize any of the names. The writer and director is Bob Coher. See if we can see if he did anything else. It says his debut was Plump Fiction. He directed episodes of TV's Anger Management, The Drew Carey Show, Wanda at Large, Still Standing, George Lopez, Hannah Montana. So a lot of like just stuff, just like like episodes of stuff. But I don't really. It seems like no big movies that stand out. Yeah, it's a big long list though of stars that were in Plump Fiction. I never saw Plump Fiction. I would like to see it, but I remember seeing the cover a lot.
Do they still, like, what's the latest movies? Like, do they, I feel like that there's definitely this thing where any popular movie was going to have a movie, like some really stupid rated R. It's going to have like dick jokes and stuff in it, you know?
Well, like there's like the scary movie films.
I guess that's those, yeah.
And then there's like the newer ones are like, I guess the early 2000s had Not Another Teen Movie.
Uh-huh.
And then there were just ones like that followed, you know?
Right.
Like, I don't know. Let's see. I guess I could just read you some of them.
Like, is there a Hunger Games parody yet? Like, which is full of dick jokes? Like,
well, there's the Hungover Games.
Oh, that sounds lame, though. Ugh.
Yeah.
Like the Hung Games or something would be funnier. I don't know, like...
There's one called 50 Shades of Black.
That sounds kind of funny.
It's starring Marlon Wayans.
I don't know. I mean, that sounds all right, but like, I feel like it was more reliable back in that Leslie Nielsen era. You know, every movie that came out was going to have some shitty Leslie Nielsen movie coming out after it.
I think those Leslie Nielsen movies were pretty good.
It was kind of oddly. It's funny to think like it just felt like a part of the movie scene at that point. Like that shit always came out. Like just went away.
Well, they have like 2008 has Meet the Spartans.
Oh, right.
Let's see what else there is. There's Not Another Dance Movie. Oh, wait, where did I just see that? Or Not Another. Oh, God, that sounds horrible.
Yeah. Ugh. Too meta.
Yeah, I don't like that shit. There's Farce of the Penguins. I don't like when they like include
the word like farce.
I like when it's like a yeah, I don't like when it's like not a. I mean that's just like what they do with those porn titles now.
Yeah,
you know,
that's
like,
stupid.
Like not Frasier XXX.
Yeah, that's lazy. Like Robin Hood Men in Tights, Silence of the Hams aren't that like creative either, but like,
they're funny though. I mean, Dracula Dead and Loving, it's funny.
Like that's so stupid, right?
Yeah. Wrongfully Accused is pretty good. Because it's like, it does just sound like a regular movie.
Right.
Yeah. There's one called The Bogus Witch Project.
Stupid.
Yeah, I don't like the ones that are like, that just say scary movie, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Date movie. Yeah.
Lame.
So.
All right, well, that was interesting, though.
Yeah, it's fun, right?
That's interesting subject.
There's one called Stan Helsing. Sounds bad.
It's not trying as hard. Like, they weren't even trying that hard to begin with, but they're trying even like wrongfully accused is a funny name because like it's like a word. It's like they had two names for the fugitive. We could call it the fugitive or wrongfully accused. It's like clearly you would never. It's such a shittier name, you know. There's like a little bit of meta humor in there, you know what I mean? Like it's a little smarter. Like
Stan Helsing is just like Stan rhymes with Van.
Yeah.
Although it says here on its page, in some parts of Asia, it was known as Scary Movie 5. So that's pretty fun.
Interesting, very interesting.
Yeah. Now here's a couple. Disaster movie, extreme movie. I remember when these were coming out all the time.
So stupid.
Epic movie. Yeah.
Fuck all these.
I don't remember Man of the Year. What was that? Oh. All right, well.
Comedy's hard.
They say it is hard. Oh, here's a good one that we didn't do. MacGruber from 2010.
Do not know.
You don't know what that's a parody of?
What, like, MacGyver?
Yeah. You know who plays the MacGyver role? The Richard Dean Anderson role?
I don't. I kind of remember this movie, though.
He's from Saturday Night Live.
I don't know.
And it was a Saturday Night Live sketch.
Who is it?
It's a Will Forte.
Oh, Will Forte.
Yeah. So, that was fun.
Interesting. Very interesting topic.
Here's another more recent bad one. The Walking Deceased.
I mean, that's kind of funnier in a way.
I think Dead and Loving It's really good though. All right, well,
that was good.
Yeah, let's wrap up this show.
All right, man.
All right. So, I guess I'll take this time to remind people to check out Omega Land, the post-apocalyptic tarot deck, available on Amazon. And Dave, you have anything you want to add?
Nope. It's been a good show.
Yeah. Good talking to you, man.
All right. Sounds good.
I'm going to have to get you a copy of Atlanta Nights. You're going to have to tell me what you think of it.
I'll just Google it.
I'll try to find a hard copy and mail it to you.
Yeah, I wonder what they picked for the cover art.
Oh. Alright.
Alright, dude. I'll talk to you later. Have a good night.
You too. Bye.
If you love fast-paced battle card games and high fantasy, you may love David's State Wars Backstab. Romp with your friends through castles and dungeons, but watch your back. You can't trust anybody. Backstab is published by US Games. now available on Amazon. Google Backstab card game today.